Thank you. Thank you for introduction. So we're happy to be here again. I think a couple months ago, I made a presentation down the street, not down streets, again, very close here on the Biogas and talk about, the anaerobic digestion. So again, my name is Wei Liao. I'm the director. Thank you for introduction. MSU Anaerobic Digestion Research Education. And my colleagues here, Francesca Valenti, and she's from Italy and postdoc in my center. And Danica, many of you probably know him, my colleagues doing a lot of anaerobic digestion. We work together in Michigan, and they're very, very grateful for our animal scientists. And we, again, I cannot agree with more on the systems. Really, it's not just engineering solutions. It's going to be a teamwork that brings all different people working on that. But today I'm going to focus, same car, focus on nutrient part. I'm going to again back to the carbon side, and very much focus on small, medium dairy farms. Again, the large farms like Biogas or the large farms, and the size is big, and they do have a bit more tools in their toolbox to handle different things. But small, medium farms, we'll talk about southern call below, and what kind of solutions. This morning I asked a question to Kevin. Like state-wise, public service commission, do you cover that the area? It's pretty hard questions, and including ours in Michigan, we're trying to do those things, right? And pretty hard to achieve. However, the electric vehicle is one of the solutions. We believe we can use that the development. Currently, we know the booming of the EVs in the nation, and can help this medium small farms. Again, I cannot emphasize enough for medium small, particularly if you look at dairy industry, not only dairy industry, entire animal industry. 80–90% of farms are small, medium farms. They are struggling. And although everybody knows this consolidation happening in the dairy industry, but if you look at our rural communities and those small, medium farms, one of the cornerstones for the society, you don't want to say, okay, we can get rid of all of them and put co-ops or put all the big companies in there. It's not the way it is. So we're trying to help. So this is about this presentation. I show you a lot of numbers. We do have our own small, let's say medium-sized digesters. We give you real numbers and show some of our ideas for the discussion. Oh, sorry. Okay, just a brief. I think this room everybody knows the dairy industry. That's some numbers on the dairy farms and the numbers of calls, and as again. 97% of U.S. dairy farms owned by the family. So you see, this is how important this industry is for our rural communities. And the average dairy farm size is 187 cows. You think about all those big farms, a couple thousand dairy farms, it's only like a 10–15%, even the trend in past 2 or 3 decades. And consolidation happening because milk is really kind of underwater in terms of price. If you don't go for the consolidation, actually, the cost of producing milk, it's just cannot cover the cost. Actually, the sales cost cannot cover the producing cost of the milk production. And then, of course, U.S. dairy industry contribute 1% of GDP. 1% is a small number, but if you look at the U.S. economy, the economy, 1% is quite a big number. On that, one direction. Okay, then back to this dairy manure. And people always complain, say, okay, the entire animal protein thing is not sustainable. That's based on I disagree on that statement. Because all those statements are based on our conventional meat protein production process. We all know our food industry target on use best material, starch, all those things produce, and the food for us, right? And doing that process, to be frankly, it's not that efficient. It wastes a lot of things, and things kind of go into landfill, all those different places. Similar things with the dairy industry. To look at this picture, I'm going to focus on the carbon side. But if you look at the distribution, many of us know only 35% of carbon in the feed goes to milk. And 45% of them in the manure, and the rest of the carbon respiration or rooming systems, kind of the release from that part. And I'm not going to cover nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, just give you numbers if you look at those numbers. 6% nitrogen ends up in manure. That's why Carl mentioned mineral carbon, right? It's big, it's a resource. People think about ammonia synthesis, Haber-Bosch reaction. It's an expensive process. Hydrogen gas, nitrogen gas put together to produce ammonia fuel. And that's kind of 60% of them actually, if you consider manure just a land application. And yes, some of them get into, as nutrients for the plant growth, but a lot of them run out into where? Into our water system. And people complain, lake area complain, okay, all those, run off eutrophication stuff happening there. And then the phosphorus, 60%, potassium more, 75% because of solubility. So those things I can take a day is talk about that and the technology, all those kind of stuff. Let's focus on carbon for today. Okay, this is I'm just quickly go through that. That's just an anaerobic digestion. Anaerobic digestion just literally is a group bacteria. Actually, right now we believe more than bacteria. We do a lot of virus and eukaryotes research, and there's more synergies happening in the digestion system. Turn all those organic matter in the biogas and change the format of the nutrients, nitrogen, ammonia, and phosphorus into different type of formats. And in the digest state could be liquid, solid. That's covered quite well on that part. I'm going to focus on biogas. Okay, this is just some information. We work very closely with EPA Star, and if you look at this map, they cover the very much as a farm-based biogas projects, and a lot of them are ongoing. And a particular West Coast, if you look at this side, a lot of the cars of low carbon fuel standard, and a lot of projects going on. We work with quite a bit of the developers, and they are doing a lot of projects over there. But if you look at, I want you to pay more attention. It's some pretty busy maps. But if you look at dairy, cattle, swine, poultry, and some other mixed co-digestion systems, and the size. If you look at the animal size, you see example on the dairy. Less than 5,000 dairy cow farms, not a whole lot. All those big ones, 20,000, 15,000, typical dairy farm digesters in the United States. Overall digesters, agriculture side, only 332, maybe kind of up plus minus like 10 right now. I cannot check numbers, number change every month. So compare, just give a comparison. Germany, much smaller country than ours, 8,000 farm digesters compared to we only have 300. And 300 among the 300 digesters, most of them are large scale, which means if you use a dairy industry, is 1,000 dairy cows above, only few less than that. In ours, we only we have a 200 dairy cow on campus. That's for the research demonstration systems. If you look at real, the economic performance is hard to make that investment to produce methane gas, to make that balance move. So that's just a number. And again, give you a little bit of the overall countries, because we do work with USDA and the EPA can do some evaluation for the entire biogas industry. And if you look at all the livestock and wastewater treatment plant, landfill, and the current status, and then we based on current renewable natural gas and down the road electric vehicle, electricity for electric vehicles, we believe there's a huge potential for this industry and group. Not only just the agriculture side, municipal side too. And also we strongly believe down the road, those decentralized systems will be part of the picture. United States is good at building the centralized facility. Large cities, Chicago, Detroit, build the big systems. But considering infrastructure investment, and the smaller system have some of the advantage. Down the road is going to combination. I'm not saying no large infrastructure investment. There are some, but the decentralized system, particularly for rural communities, will be the key player for this whole, the infrastructure, not only just digestion, other things too. So, and just kind of give you a little bit of overview and see the potential there. Yeah, I'm going to jump into the topic and show the pathways, current pathways for the farm-based biogas utilization. It's pretty clear at this moment. And renewable for the heat and electricity. And the easiest way, put the engine there and then digesters, get biogas burning, and the generate electricity. And then, of course, the past probably 5 to 10 years, decade or so, it's a renewable natural gas, particularly with California as a low carbon fuel standard, around like 12 years history for that program. And this current two the pathways. Again, as I mentioned, both pathways have some challenges. At least right here, a little bit long sentence. I'm not gonna read that, but just very much for the small scale, the system, current, heat, electricity generation pathways. And carbon can tell. We run our own engines, oil change, and the maintenance. Sometimes, you need to take the piston, clean all those kind of things up. We have one dedicated, our small system, much, much smaller than car unit operation. We only have 400 kilowatt, the unit on campus, but we have one dedicated, the technician to handle everything. And of course, we build our system, everything we import from Germany. In the first couple of years, we actually flew German engineers to do all this kind of maintenance stuff. Very, very expensive and very, very complicated. And that's, again, for the small dairy farm, we know everybody how busy they are, right? The focus on because they need to take care of their animals. And they don't have extra hands to do all those things. So this is one of the research areas we're focused on, actually, to develop maintenance free. I'll show some pictures and engine operation for all those, the electricity generation, very much for the small, medium farm operation. And for the RNG pathway, even complicated, I can tell you that. And location size, not only just size of farm, location. You need to be close to the pipeline. Otherwise, almost like impossible. You build pipeline from your farm to some main natural gas pipeline. It's impossible. Back to state Michigan, we have a couple of renewable natural gas the pipelines. State Michigan, each state is different. There are many natural gas pipelines. For Michigan, those Detroit Edison and Consumer Energy, they have very strict oxygen content. Very, very low. You can tell, I'm not naming any the company, but the company we have to trying to generate the renewable natural gas, put in the pipeline. They have to remove that, the oxygen. That unit alone, $6 million. You tell me, you have 1,000 dairy cows just for that unit to upgrade to renewable natural gas, you put $6 million in the package. No matter what the ring numbers right now is, the cost is not going to work for your farm, for sure. And we just talk about one single unit. The entire biogas upgrading unit, the $40 million investment. Of course, that operation is big. You think about that investment. Again, this is not at this moment economically, it's not an option for small, medium farms. That's very clear, right? Okay. Then what do we have in our toolbox, particularly for, too fast, let's see one more slides. What we can do. And again, thankful Elon Musk, let's see Tesla, they're leading all those kind of EV stuff and started probably 15 years ago. And make a third pathway possible for agriculture, let's put this case, the dairy industry. So which means start from biogas. And again, as mentioned earlier, we need to design those maintenance-free engine systems. For this particular case, we work with Sterling Engine Company. We have 2 units testing our facility. Talk about external combustion. And environment friendly because it can just use the fuel and air inputs to maintain the flue gas, satisfy EPA standard, and then generate electricity and generate heat. And for that particular case, the electricity is going to go for EVs, the cost of value. And currently this morning, Kevin talked about those electricity costs, like 4 cents, something like that. Not going to happen to farms. Farm, you can tell me 4 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity, or even like in Michigan, you have 8.6 cents the per kilowatt hour electricity for renewable electricity. Farmers not going to do that. Consider all the paperwork, right? And the cost. So you take that thing money back, you put digestion on the systems. Take you 20 years to get money back. Find the payback period, at least. You'll see some number we did later on. So that's not a solution. But if you look at electricity for the EVs, if you look at entire nation, right, the average is 35 cents per kilowatt hour. Even considering if you go for co-ops, do the distribution systems, it deduct, let's see, 30% of the cost to cover that piece. You still have 20 cents per kilowatt hour. 20 cents makes sense and can make all those small, medium the operations feasible. Later on, you see numbers on that. So this is why at this moment, ADRAC will work with ARS and RCS, including EPA, very much into that area. Many of you know EPA just released a proposal regarding the e-rings, and we give some input in there, and then right now we're reviewing. We ask the general public comments on that part. We put quite a bit of stuff. I'm part of the AOC to ABC to American Biogas Council and to all kinds of we're trying to put our inputs into that systems. It will be there and sooner or later for that case. So I just want to focus on that pathway. Just do all kinds of analysis. I want to show everybody some numbers. And that's kind of, a general approach for dairy farms. And then we have digester. Again, at MSU ADRAC, we focus on all the clean water, like the car mentioned, clean water and very much solid fertilizer. We're not looking for liquid. We really need a concentrate. Semi-solid, solid for that case. And of course, there's some ammonia. I'm not going to cover that. Ammonia, we do some things, liquid ammonia with a different technology, but it's not focused on fertilizer. We take ammonia as a green ammonia fuel to power. Actually, it's clean burning. Just generate hydrogen gas and nitrogen gas. Of course, the process of the company will focus on that. If we have a chance, next time I can talk about that. We'll do tons of research on that piece. And let's focus on electricity, just for the EV stuff. We want GIS, run all kinds of analysis. So, okay, we just use our systems. Our systems are pretty small and really represent the small scale operation. MSU, the campus digester. So I think we are the first one in the nation to have a campus digestion, and the UC Davis next. UC Davis digestion system not on their campus, but they deal with their food waste. So this is our systems. We have like a 400,000 gallons, a little bit around 500,000 gallons, a little bit less than 500,000 gallons of tank, and storage because the EPA standard, and we have to store those the liquid for 6 months. We build that green tank behind 2.1 million gallons of storage. And for this system, we still down because MSU will have 5,000 acre land, the big campus, and agriculture land. We use that as the fertilizer for our land, and not ideal. We can change that again. We want to turn those things into solid, semi-solid fertilizer. And we have CHP. We have 2G, the German 2G system, 400 kilowatt unit, and the feedstock. Again, this is very interesting. This morning I asked a question, interesting the aspect. We have manure and food waste. If you look at a California system, the Oregon, Washington systems, most of the digestion go for the cold digestion because it increase methane biogas production. However, and EPA has D3, D4, D5, the regulation. You really need it depends on what market target are. You need to kind of twist a little bit in the front end. We are trying to work with EPA to modify a little bit on their standard, trying to give a little bit more space for particular small medium farm, and they can generate more gas, generate more revenue out of that. But our current system, I can tell you that there's research facility feed more food waste than manure. Only 60% are the feedstocks food waste, and campus food waste and some other food waste, and 40% dairy. I can do that. Yeah, it's good. So this is a kind of flow chart that everyone knows then kind of food waste. We have food receiving piece and getting the digesters we have 26 days retention time. Our temperature running around 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And so regular a little bit higher than mesophilic in that neighborhood. So after that, we have, the holding tank. We do have press compressor to do liquid solid separation. Solid, we do have our on-campus composting facility. We do composting. And then liquid, we're actually pumping back into the big green tank, store for 6 months, and then apply during summertime, apply on the field. And the composting biomass, actually, we sell them $40 per yard, and for some of, like me, every year I take some for my yard. My tomato flower blooming every year. It's very beautiful. I like those composting material. And then the others material, because we are so close to the capital, Michigan, so the state government to pick them up the landscape. So, and this is kind of our food feedstock, a lot of food waste. We have two peas, new peas and food peas. We can all kinds of things. We have a technician dedicated for this operation. I have to tell you, let's do the cold digestion. The people running the system get to know feedstock better. And we get all kinds of different things. Sometimes get like harder of the eggs and all those things. And then we have to base on, actually, if we run all those analysis for those samples, we know that categories, and based on carbon nitrogen ratio, we adjust the feeding rate for our systems. So our system running for 80 years, no problem at all. So which means if you do those things, again, you need expertise. You need people trained and to run those systems. It's not just like a mural. If you do want to do cold digestion, it's add another technical layer, and to make operations a bit harder. In that case, but of course, gas production can increase like 40, 50% sometimes. This is really good. It depends on which market or revenue you want to generate. That's your own decision. And that's some aspects I could quickly go through and focus on. I really want to have some discussion with this audience. So this is just an annual real numbers. The food waste pumping at 21,000 metric tons per year. And this 5 years average. We run the average from this data is from 2017 to 2022, 5 years average. And we generate over 1.3 million cubic meters. Sorry, this international is for general publication. We change to international units. And then, of course, the wet solid, solid filtrate, effluent, this is kind of our mass balance. And based on this number, we do our energy balance. We again meter everything. And heat input, electricity input, we have meters, and we kind of calculate the daily base energy output. And then we have a net energy output. Heat, we generate a lot of heat. Heat we use we do have our own barn on the facility. There's floor heating. We heat our own facility, of course, majority, and we use the heat to maintain our temperature. And we still have extra heat, just and release to environment. And net electricity output is over 2 million kilowatt hours per year. So that's just energy balance, again, real number. And our massing production is between 65%, 70%, depends on years, depends on the feedstock combinations. That's energy balance. And then we run the detailed economic analysis. And all those capital investment in the front end, we have the whole systems. We shake all the research component, because this is a research demonstration units. We put quite a bit of sensor, all those kind of stuff in there. And just for the capital investment, $3.5 million. That's for a 250 call farm, very small farms. Of course, we build a little bit bigger because we have another demand on campus. We need to handle the entire campus. MSU is a pretty big campus. We have 50,000 students on campus to provide. We have 12 cafeteria on campus, so all the food we need to handle. A little bit bigger than regular 250 cost dairy farm. So then the operational costs over there, like every year, close to $300,000. But that one I have to emphasize, without considering major maintenance. The car can tell you this engines, a few years, you really need to kind of stop, like for a couple of weeks, really inside out, clean up everything. That's just a regular, like oil change, synthetic oil, those kind of stuff. For that case, not major maintenance. And the revenue, the interesting part, I think everybody interested in that piece. Current revenues, we have two revenue streams. One is the electricity, the other tipping cost. So literally, if you look at this, the distribution, 50-50%. For us, tipping is a critical component to maintain that operation. Tipping is from where? Not from the dairy. Dairies can provide service. Tipping is from food waste. This is why we have the regulators here, state agencies here. That part really need to think about cost digestion. How could we help small, medium farms? That's 75% of the ratio. This is why Morning asked the question to Matt. That's something, and particularly with Purdue, the state and the agency can work together twist a little bit that number because that part is critical for small, medium farms. If you know, only can feed 25%, we feed 60% of food waste. That part, that 60% of food waste generates that revenue. And tipping is critical. Without tipping, my system will shut down in 2 years. We cannot make ends meet. We are not for full revenue. For campus operation, we just want to make ends meet, and then kind of let that for the research, the teaching stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of our current situation. With this revenue streams, the payback period is 22 years. The farmer sitting here, forget to ask you, how many of you have animals less than 1,000 dairy cows? 1,000 small, medium farms. They're pretty big farms. Okay, that's fine. But just for those kind of small, medium farms, 22 years. And all of the audience sitting here, 22 years, are you willing to invest a couple $1 million in the front end? No way, right? No, that's just to me, all 100% of the farms I talk to, nobody, look at the number, okay, conversation stops. It's literally just like that. No further discussion. We have built quite a bit, the Michigan State farm or the digesters. What we're trying to do, we put proposal for them and grab some other sources, state farm or something like that, help them build digestion. So that's the way at this moment. This is why I kind of mentioned this newer revenue streams are very important for this, for particular for medium small farm operation. Okay, that's just kind of number, and then this is a little bit of tomato join. Want to show you which part when you focus on. Very clear. This is just a number, just a years, which means if we do 25% each category, like electricity, if you get a 25% more revenue from electricity, what can change it's going to be. And if that, for example, number one, definitely revenue. If you look at two streams, heating and electricity. And just give you electricity example, if we can increase, currently our selling price is 10 cents per kilowatt hour for our system. And increase to 12.5 cents per kilowatt hour. You can see the 22 years, remember that payback period based on 10 cents per kilowatt hour as a revenue stream. We can reduce to the 11 years, or can reduce 11 years. So that makes that case to 10 years, much better, right? Much, much better than 22 years. You see how important the revenue stream. Sustainability decided by what? Is decided by what? For the business, right? Business and sustainability, they connect each other. If, business cannot make money out of that, where's the sustainability? The build up on. There's always economically driven the matters with all those, no matter the environment, the sustainability or the society sustainability is very clear. Everybody knows that. Okay, now let's see. And this again, we just compare two systems. One is and electricity for our system. It's like 10 cents per kilowatt hour for the electricity generation. I mentioned earlier, previous slides, 21.5 years payback period. We just use because we have a number. Average, the electricity price for the EV charging, 35 cents per kilowatt hour. As I mentioned earlier, this is just the cost for now. I'm not kind of deducting all those paperwork and interconnections. Those things have some cost. But just show some number, and a payback period reduced to 5.2 years. And then we get a talking point. So talk to farmers. Okay, this is feasible or not. Depends on different state or the financial structures. We can kind of make that happen. At least we can open the door. Right? It's not like before. Doors locked. Cannot get in there. And then we run life cycle. We first need to make economics work, then look at the environmental sustainability for the whole matter. And then this, again, we use a conventional manure. Because we have two, the feedstock streams, manure and food waste. So food waste pretty much is a landfill, typical operation right now. And manure is just lagoon storage type of thing. We compare with newer systems, animal cow digestion systems for fuel, electricity, and heat. So you can see, this is all number. I'm not going to detail. This is for the calculation and our own numbers, and then all those EPA's emission conversion number, TC numbers. We use them for our modeling. And I just want to show you this picture. So this is the global warming potential. This is the digestion systems with the EV. because electricity replaces fuel, gasoline. Gasoline has very high, the emission numbers. You can see that. We actually, if we put the EVs on the picture, on the process, we actually have a negative carbon emission. Actually, we actually take carbon emission into this digestion operation. And compared to landfill, of course, plus like 6,000 metric tons of the emission per year. And this one is probably negative 380 pounds. It's not completely covered the entire emissions of their farm. However, we are on the way there. Because this is just remember, we have 4 streams, right? Carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. We just talk about carbon streams. And if we recover all those, natural source, reduce the nitrous oxide emission, that's another step getting to the carbon neutral dairy operation. Still not enough, but still have another step. We need to control animals. That's something our animal scientists are working on those pieces. So, but then the water eutrophication. Eutrophication, again, as mentioned, we're not focusing on the nitrogen phosphorus. Digestion is a carbon process. So it's really not too much with the nitrogen and phosphorus reduction. They change form. If you look at that water eutrophication potential, almost pretty close, a little bit reduction because form change. Okay, then let's look at it. Sounds pretty good. So, okay, EV is a good thing for the dairy industry. Let's put those digesters there and generate electricity. Again, not that easy. So, as I mentioned, the morning I asked Kevin questions. Electric vehicles are different from our gasoline vehicles. Where are we going to add gas for our cars? We drive to a gas station, right? And in the United States, right now, 120,000 gas stations around the country. And you just put there to add gas. But for EVs, where you go? We talk about sedans or SUV, a truck, you drive. And like Kevin mentioned this morning, yeah, that's the way it is down the road. You charge at home, very much at night, right? Go back home, put the charger on, and second day drive them out. So that's a typical approach for the family use sedan, or use cars, EV cars. We're not even targeting on that market because it's gonna be, and then down the road, probably like a building code, and you change a little bit for those, maybe, again, not a complete agree. Kevin this morning mentioned, okay, you use a NAT. If your home has 20 kilowatt capacity, you can rely on that. You may need to still increase a little bit and have some other things going on. And the building code, like power code, may change a little bit there too. But for the family use car, you may charge at home. So what we're going to focus, commercial. And those, class 3 above, even class 8, big semi-truck. Those things, your charging station, you cannot charge them at home. Can't, simply can't. You think about it. I don't know how many of you driving the electric cars, like a Tesla. Most of you know, like a Tesla Model 3. Battery is what? Battery 50 to 80, depends on different, the size, kilowatt hours. And the Cybertruck is coming market next year. And the Ford F-150 Lightning, we work very closely with the Ford company on the battery size of between 100 kilowatt hours to 120 kilowatt hours. So you can charge at home for sure. And just a regular charge, take a bit longer time. But later on, I'll show you those trucks. Their battery capacity is huge. It's just literally, so I'll show you some solution we have. They just kind of map. So we just want to combine the dairy industry, see the dairy industry distribution, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Northern Indiana, pretty heavy, and Idaho, California, Washington, Oregon, and of course, Texas, the northwest side of Texas, pretty heavy. New York, Pennsylvania, we work with all of them. You'll see our consortium deal with this whole matter. And then this charging station, just show you the Michigan. It's not hot. If you go up Peninsula, 0 commercial charging station. You can drive your car. You need to find a friend up north if you want to charge your EV cars there. Okay, let's show you some numbers. And again, as mentioned, we talk about the electric vehicles, particularly like the Tesla announced the Semi a few months ago, right? And we have 4 million Class 8 trucks. This means a long haul semi-trucks on the road in the United States. And regional trucks, these trucks deliver different things. Travels 30 to 40,000 miles per year. And then kind of other long haul travels a bit longer, like across the country, both coasts. And then we did this calculation. Numbers pretty clear based on, actually the calculation based on current Tesla semi. We consider Tesla semi will be the standard for the down the road for semi trucks, no matter what other companies are jumping. So for all those Class 8 trucks, if you turn them into electric trucks, the country need 504 terawatts hour per year just to charge those single trucks. Let them run. And then we look at dairy. For this case, we consider entire dairy, large farm, small farm, everybody in there. We can generate up to 118 terawatts an hour, which is pretty good portion, right? Almost like more than 23%, 25% of the contribution on that part. So, and with these two numbers, say, okay, dairy industry alone can make a major contribution. Of course, down the road, we're not in all farms generate electricity. Consider probably 50, 60% of them, but still a large portion of that. And of course, challenge. I'll give you some facts. I don't know, many people know that. We digging that stuff from last year or learn a lot from this truck. Just to use a semi, Tesla semi example, Class 8 truck, what's their capacity? They're looking at a 1 megawatt an hour capacity in that truck. Okay, what the concept? I just want to kind of finish that part. 1 megawatt, the 1 megawatt hours, the electricity, the power, battery power, need a 5 megawatt capacity to charge that. You think about regular semi gas stations, right? You need at least probably 5 the charging lines, right? Which means that you need a 50 megawatt capacity. I don't know, you guys have the ideas about how big is 50 megawatt is. MSU power plant. MSU power plants, we have 100 megawatt. 100 megawatt, the capacity to support almost like 75,000 people on campus, and we have a 6,000 acre land entire campus, 100 megawatt. And charge 5 semi truck, you need to have 50 megawatt capacity in that charging station. The charging station literally is a power plant. It's a small power plant. You think about it, I think we have some of energy people here. Our grid can handle that? Answer is no, started no. And this is why Consumer Energy, Detroit Edison will work with them. They knock their head. If those things are coming up, what do we do? And give you numbers, like in Michigan, we're looking at 1 million EVs, including truck, everything on the road, which means need 3 times more electricity in the state of Michigan in 10 years to satisfy the electricity demand. It's impossible 10 years. 10 years build 3 times more power plant, considering some power plant should be kind of the out of the grid in the next 5 or 10 years. And some of the energy people knows a lot of aging power plant in the United States. Then we need solutions. Again, as mentioned earlier, remember we talked about a decentralized system, rural charging network or rural electricity charging network. I can tell you our project, Carl can comment a little more, your system will be bigger. Our digestion takes 6 months. The entire digestion system, to build a system 6 months. And start from of course, design the things in front end, but start from the construction, finish, generate electricity 6 months. But think about a power plant. You build another 600 megawatt power plant, take years. I'm not saying if take 5 years, a couple of years to build the system. So this is a kind of really good opportunity for the farming community, for animal community to make a contribution, and a very good opportunity to link agriculture and industry. And particularly in the state of Michigan, we are pulling all the industry agriculture together. We want to put them on the same table at the top. And this is what our jobs actually in Michigan to do that with community board and different car companies and also utility companies and agriculture. You see this challenge. And then if you look at the rural value, this kind of our concept at this moment we dig in. Later I show some of the research we do. Rural biogas. Okay, let me finish. Yeah. And a rural charging network to support regional high capacity charging stations. And again, what we do is we want to see the feasibility. We do GIS research. So we focus on one of the county, Clinton County, It's just above, capital, the Lansing area just right here. And quite condensed, the farming operations. Glanbia is there, and there's a milk processing facility there too. And we look at a highway, look at, the freeways, we can build actually the charging stations and can support the numbers there. And the V4 supercharging, the station network can charge 100 long haul electric trucks per day. So really I'm not saying they can cover the entire, the long haul truck in that county, but make major contribution to that part. And it's just actually we're still keep working on this GIS things. We're trying to find optimize the locations based on the farm, based on the grade, all those things. I'm doing research on that piece. So there's some numbers I mentioned quite a bit on that part, but I just want to show you the revenue from the biogas EV charging station. Still, we look at a national scale. We can cover 41% of the milk production cost. If, we stick on the 35 cents per kilowatt hour, that's a big, big portion for the particular for small, medium farm operation. And then of carbon, again, we're not going to cover 100%, but we can at least 45% of, the carbon, reduce its carbon footprint, which is also very, very significant. And then other things like if you look at, the 4 million long haul electric truck, if we still consider dairy farm as a whole, it can power 20% of those long haul. Again, very significant numbers. So this is kind of, what we're doing, research on the whole piece. And we're actually working with the AgBio Research and NEDC, very much state-based, and USDA-IRS. Of course, NRCS is very interesting on the other two pieces, nutrient part. We can talk another time. We do a lot of research on that piece. Sorry, take a little bit longer. So if for quick questions, I can answer.
Yeah, there it is. On the chats for the Varcor, is the biogas a source of heat?
Is the biogas a source of the heat? The answer to that, it could be, but it's probably